Hey guys, how's it going? It's Lawrence and Max from Vital Worldwide, and
Hey.
today we are going to cover travel times and what we call ETA, estimated time of arrival. And we're going to talk about what makes certain travel times longer, shorter, compare it from air, ocean, and just kind of cover some frequently asked questions we get from our customers on why their cargo may be taking a long time to get somewhere. Max, why don't you start off with just some of the things that can affect transit times that we discussed before starting the video.
Okay, in regards to more the ocean side is what we're going to speak about more. Transit times is based off of the shipping line itself, being the carrier that is actually loading and loading your containers onto the vessel who you book your shipment with. Depending on the carrier themselves, what's going to happen is some may go directly to a location, some may transship to one location where they'll stop at a destination, hop onto another vessel at the port, and then from there that vessel will move to another destination. Generally, a good example is Australia. There are some shipping lines that go direct and transit time is about 32 days. Then there's other shipping lines that don't go direct and they transship. Example is double OCL. They go from USA to Singapore to Australia. And that transshipment alone can cause a transit time of 60 days. So in regards to actual transshipping, double OCL is a perfect example of it because what they do is, like I said, is coming in from USA, goes to Singapore. Singapore transships when they're actually taking the containers, moving to a new vessel. There's going to be a new vessel name and a new ETD, ETA. What also happens at that transship is there's a schedule.
Yeah.
And it's the same as air. There's a schedule that has to be that they have to oblige by. And generally, what happens is it connects. So you can arrive on, let's say, the 23rd of a month, and you were supposed to get on a vessel that moves the 26th of that month. But the cutoff of that 26th of the month is the 23rd. So if your ship arrives the 23rd and they don't have the time for you to meet that, what's going to happen is you're going to get moved to the next schedule. Your container sits there for the next vessel,
Yeah.
which is 7 days generally. Then it transships, and then from there it moves to and gives you a new ETA from Singapore to Australia. As you can see, there's a small interruption there with transshipping, obviously, versus direct. Direct, you're going directly to the destination. Transshipping, that's a little problem. Now you got to hope that you make that schedule that they have it planned for, because you miss out on 7 days, possibly 14 days, depending on the transshipping schedule.
And also, just explain briefly, when you transship, they actually have to move your container off.
Yep, exactly. They're actually taking your container off of the vessel it originally was on when it departed the USA, and then they're moving it into another vessel.
Yep.
And they even give you that new vessel name and voyage number.
Right, and that can often take like a day to discharge
Yes.
your container
Yes.
and so on and so forth. Transshipment is when your container is actually going to get off of the vessel and get on a new one. There's also routing, so oftentimes, say the vessel leaves New York, it doesn't just leave New York and go straight to wherever it's going to go. It's oftentimes going to stop at Savannah, Charleston, some other U.S. ports on the East Coast before it goes off to its final destination. And if you're on the West Coast, it may go from L.A. to Oakland.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
It might go
yeah.
to some different ports to pick up cargo on the West Coast before it takes off.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
It moves. It's literally moving across the line, the whole
Right.
ocean line across.
And we often use the analogy of if you get on an express versus a local train, it's got to stop off at different bus stops or different train stops to get more passengers. So cargo ships are not very different from that. They basically have to stop at different ports to ensure that they get as much cargo as possible to make that vessel full before it gets to its destination. And similarly, when it gets to its destination, it's not just going to drop off cargo in Shanghai. It might drop it off in Ningbo and drop it
Yeah.
off in some other ports as well. Because what a shipping line ultimately wants to do is it wants to pick up as much cargo as possible from the country of origin and on its way to the port of destination. If it can pick up a lot more cargo along the way, it's a more profitable journey for that particular
Yes.
carrier, right? Obviously, they have to stay within weight limits and everything, but if they can efficiently do that, they're going to stop at different ports of call. And every time they stop, it's going to usually take at least an extra day because they have to load those additional containers on the vessel
Yep.
before it takes off. So you figure if they make 3 or 4 stops, you're adding at least three days more to the transit.
Pretty much a day. Each stop is pretty much a day.
For the most part.
For the most part.
There's certain cases where it might be a little bit quicker, but you assume pretty much a day.
Yeah.
Right. So that can also. So you have to imagine instead of like a straight line, it's like a line that
Yeah,
just
exactly.
makes these little
Yeah.
rainbows to all these different ports. Then it goes. There's like a line to the port, and then it kind of has all these other little lines dropping off to all
That's
the
exactly how they
ports.
draw out the transit.
Exactly.
how every shipping line draws out
Yep.
the transits where the vessels actually travel.
If you go to a less frequently traveled port of call, almost guaranteed there's not going to be a direct sailing for that port of call. So it's always going to have to stop somewhere and transship. So less traveled ports of call will almost always have a longer ETA just by the nature of how they're routed. If you go to more major ports of call, the reason why some of those shipments are a lot faster is because they have a lot more.
Yeah, there's a lot of frequency going on in there. They get a lot of volume in and out.
A lot more service, yeah, a lot more volume in and out, a lot more service. When you have a high volume port of call, the sailing frequency is gonna be a lot more frequent.
Yes.
Probably, usually I think weekly is about the most you'll see out of an ocean vessel. It's usually a weekly sailing, but for less common ports of call, it might be every other week.
Yeah.
And in some cases, like project shipments, it's like once every, they only, like the more rare your specialized your cargo is, and if it requires a specialized vessel, those vessels are not as common as standard container vessels.
Absolutely not. No.
So there, there might be a project shipment carrier, but they're only gonna have, I think like Hogue only has like 4 vessels or 5.
Yeah.
Right, they're like these massive vessels that are tremendously expensive to run, so they're not gonna have like a fleet of 20 of them.
And they depart like every two
Exactly,
weeks or so.
exactly. So if they only have 4 vessels, that means all 4 of them are at any time traveling the world. So for them to return all the way back to say Houston or somewhere, it's they got to run their whole route.
Yeah.
So that's why the sailing frequency for really specialized cargo that needs specialized vessels is even more rare. Yeah, it could be like every other month or every 2 months. So you have to keep that. You have to keep that in mind. And then for air, kind of the same thing.
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing.
If it's less frequently traveled or you need a special aircraft, it's just going to be way less frequent.
It's just everything's on schedule. Everything's on a schedule, and it's like you said, it's like a bus stop. If that bus stop's gonna be on a certain schedule to pick up certain cargo, right?
Yeah.
And pick up people obviously at a certain time. You're not there. The bus is busy schedule. It's the same thing. Your cargo has to meet a certain cutoff.
Yeah.
And then if you're not there,
You got to wait for the next
wait
one.
for the next one.
Yeah.
Exactly how it works.
And it's particularly important for less common ports of call, less common airports, because the frequency is going to be less and the volume is going to be less. The scheduling is just not going to be as tight as
Yeah.
common ports of call.
Now, sometimes it's possible though, and
Sometimes
the way
it
it's
is.
possible when it's possible is the rate. They charge an express.
Yes, yes. Some carriers will offer this more for air freight, I believe.
More air freight.
Yeah,
As
more
long
for air
as-
freight.
absolutely.
They have some options where they're going to have an express, where they're going to put you on a more frequent flight, more common style of aircraft, and because they know that your transit time is going to be faster, they obviously will charge
And
you
you're paying
a
the,
little bit more.
the expedited rate, so
Yeah.
it's literally a premium. So you're getting the premium service. It's expensive,
Yeah.
but they honor and guarantee the time. That's
Yeah.
the whole purpose of the rate.
Yeah.
Generally, people don't go that route because it's just a lost situation.
In very special circumstances for urgent shipments, we have been able to work around long transit times to less frequently traveled ports by means of combining different modes of transportation. So a good example of that would be if we know that something is, say a city in China that's less frequent. Now, if you flew there, it would take maybe over a week because it has to connect to an airport or whatever. In certain cases, we may ship to a very frequently traveled airport, say Shanghai,
Mhm.
right, and then use a mode of land transportation by truck
Yeah,
to get
okay.
it inland
Mhm.
to save a few days.
Days
Now,
and money.
days and sometimes money. It could cost more money, it could cost less money.
Yeah, but you're saving the time. Right?
But the point being is that just because something is routed a certain way, if you have a freight forwarder who will think outside the box and dig a little bit deeper and come up with a better solution, a better product for the customer, that is always a possibility. So leave your questions in the comments below. Ask us if you have any concerns about travel times and ETAs for your shipment. We're always here to answer your questions. Again, guys, thanks for watching, and till next time.
Thank you.